Hello, and welcome to this third video in which we're working with Elliott Carter's guitar piece, Changes, and we're working on ways of getting some of its key sonorities under our fingers so that we can recognize them instantly and even improvise with them, feel them as we play through the piece. In the last video, we looked at the all-trichord hexachord. In this one, we're going to explore the other principal chord in Changes, the hexachord 614, using its fourth label, or 013458 in its prime form. So you're going to hear me say 614 a lot. So to find an example of 614 in the piece Changes, we don't have to go further than the first gesture. After the first three-note chord, the second chord, the first six-note chord in the piece, is our friend 614. So it's clearly of some importance to Carter that he states it first. Well, there are two reasons why 614 is of such interest to Carter. The first is that it contains every interval class except for the tritone. Changes is otherwise dominated by the all-trichord hexachord, which, apart from containing all 12 possible trichords, of course contains all 6 interval classes, the tritone included. This makes for a crucial difference between the sounds of the two chords. This contrasting relationship is articulated by Carter right at the beginning of the piece in the opening gesture. Our opening 614 immediately moves to an all-trichord hexachord. The other reason why Carter is interested in 614 is that it's possible to order its pitches in a very interesting way. You can order them in such a way that you sound each interval class in turn. So, staying with that first hexachord in Changes, let's order the notes like this. And if I test each successive pair of notes, I have interval class 1, interval class 2, interval class 3, interval class 4, and interval class 5. And of course, interval class 6, the tritone, is not available because it's not contained in the hexachord. At this moment in the piece, we hear the chord played. We have no way of hearing that property is there. But later on in Changes, Carter brings it out, and he exploits it in all kinds of fascinating ways. So that's some theory. What about the practice? How can we learn not only to instantly recognize this chord, but to feel it directly under our fingers? And how can we learn to improvise with it? Well, it turns out that just as with the all-trichord hexachord, there's an infallible way of quickly forming 614. You start by playing any augmented triad, and then you add to it any member of set class 024. In other words, the first three notes of any major scale, do, re, mi. Do, re, mi. You just want to make sure that you don't duplicate any of the pitch classes from the augmented triad, because of course we want 6 unique pitch classes, so no unisons or octaves. Apart from that, no matter how you go about this, the result will always be the hexachord 614. Here's the same augmented triad. Here's a different do, re, mi. Still we have hexachord 614. Of course, you can do it in reverse. Start with a voicing of do, re, mi. So let's say G, A, B. And we don't have to keep to one particular register. Let's place them on the open strings, G, A, and B. And then we'll add to that a disjunct augmented triad. And still we have a voicing of 614. This is how you can instantly check whether or not you have the hexachord you think you have. Let's go back to that first hexachord in changes and break it down. So it contains an augmented triad. Now if we check the remaining three notes, we have F, G and A, the first three notes of the F major scale, so we have an O2-4 sonority. This proves that we have hexachord 614. Now let's play around with this idea. I'll start with Carter's hexachord. Let's isolate the augmented triad and the O2-4 and just listen to the two chords sounding together. And once more we'll isolate the augmented triad and add to it a different O2-4. The result, of course, is that we still have a version of 614. And now I'll isolate my O2-4 and add a different augmented triad. This, again, must be a 614. Let's enjoy the fact that it is by going through the interval classes. Interval class 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now we'll isolate our augmented triad and add a new O2-4. And we'll isolate our O2-4 and add a different augmented triad to that. But now the augmented triad I've just played is the same one that we began with, so let's give it back its original O2-4. And this is the chord we started with from Carter's changes. The result was that we just did a little improvisation on hexachord 614, going through multiple voicings of this one hexachord. Now, of course, we don't have to do it the way I just did it with the notes struck as chords. You can do it more easily in the form of linear segments. So you could play an augmented triad and then add the O2-4 to that, either as little quick gestures, lyrically, and of course playing around with registers. You can play around like this for hours. And each time you do, your fingers and mind get a little bit more used to working together, to the point that it seems as though your fingers are able to think on their own. Thank you and enjoy your improvisations.